Welcome to another exciting episode of the Working in Tech live stream. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Chanel Power.
Hello.
Now, the power in the name is actually power because she's doing a lot of amazing stuff. First of all, I think our personal journey is so inspiring. Being able to learn all of the amazing things that she's been able to learn to be in the career that she's in. If she stopped there, it'll be great. But no, right? She's taking it one, not even multiple steps further, helping more people, putting a ladder down, helping more people climb up to build the career of their dreams. And I definitely want to touch on every single one of those things today. But welcome to the show, Chanel.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here. Hello, everyone. Like you said, my name is Chanel, founder and CEO of Mentor Me Collective. I do that in my free time, in my most wonderful time. But in my other time, I don't want to say that's not wonderful either. I'm also a machine learning engineer, so I'm super excited about that. And hopefully, we'll be able to dive into how you can also continue to walk in the fullness of what God has created you to do and to be, and to have fun along the way. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, okay. So you just changed the dynamic of this whole entire conversation because you just said the magic word, machine learning. So tell me a little bit about that because I know like that's the hottest topic in tech right now. How did you navigate into that role? What does that entail? How can anyone looking to start there get a start in machine learning?
Yeah. So, for starters, like this is an amazing opportunity to be able to be at the cusp of something, like you said, that is changing the dynamic of our world. Um, hey, Michael. Super excited to see you. But yeah, I think my earliest exposure to machine learning at that time, they didn't really have a beautiful word or term like that, was actually in my earlier professional life of wanting to go into neurosurgery. So specifically in undergrad, I had a lot of different internships at different schools of medicines and hospitals doing different kinds of computational analysis, right? My undergraduate degree is in mathematics and chemistry, and I minored in sociology. And so a part of me being able to graduate was taking different kinds of computational courses. Of the courses that I've taken was in Python and different kinds of statistical modeling like R and SAS for those who are in data science. But long story short, my task was to compile all the data that scientists were getting from different kinds of vertebrae or different kinds of scientific findings, and to create different kinds of scripts to tell them, i.e., how many cells will be created at X time or Y time, or how many cells will have or will start showing like a cancerous protein in this specific cell line X, Y, and Z. And so I didn't even realize that was a big thing for me going to school, especially being away at in Maryland at UMBC. So shout out to the Retrievers. I was the only person of my family there, so I was just trying to find a job that was going to give me some money for the summer, so I could just move along strong. So thankfully, the Lord placed me in a really awesome opportunities. I did it at UConn. I did. I was at UConn. I was at the School of Medicine here in New York City with Mount Sinai. I was at the University of Maryland. I was Johns Hopkins. I worked with, so all of these awesome places, and honestly, all of it had to do with computational analysis. So long story short, I was able to. I was working at Apple, still working at Apple, but at that time I was in retail. In retail, I was working with accessible technologies, and I'll talk more about how I, kind of sojourned to this space. But specifically, the Lord connected me with my skip level, my director, through an email, and I'll talk more about that a little later. And he was able to see value in my resume when I didn't really see it as something. I just thought, hey, I'm technical. Can you help me with finding another opportunity? He was like, hey, this is actually machine learning. And I think that you would be a great addition to our team. So, yeah.
Hmm. So, I mean, you can double click into that other aspect because I'm really curious. I think one of the things that we try to do on this platform is like, because there's a lot of like, cookie cutter generic advice out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of eating strategies that can take you literally from here to that next level. So I definitely want to hear about that email.
Yeah. So at the time, I had maybe been graduated about 2 or 3 years, and I was really asking the Lord to help me with finding my next opportunity. At that time, and literally, again, the Lord will set you up for greatness. Before I graduated, I had an internship with my specific university in the prototyping and design lab. And it was our job to work with accessible technologies. So I was actually like a UX researcher, kind of, uh and I was helping with prototyping and designing different kinds of technologies for folks who had vision impairments and hearing impairments. Specifically, we partnered with the Toyota Research Institute, and we were trying to curate. Hey, we were trying to curate a device, like a GPS device, to help folks who had vision impairments and hearing impairments navigate the mall. So I thought that was cool. I thought it was exciting. It was obviously very innovative and allowed me to be creative. And so taking that experience, again, like I said, I graduated. I was looking for an opportunity to kind of live at the intersection of healthcare. I still thought at that time that I wanted to go to medical school to become a neurosurgeon. However, I knew that I needed time to get me back. Throw your hands up in the chat if you know, like sometimes in school, it's like, it's so overwhelming. You get to this finish line and you're like, okay, I'm finished, but I need to take a moment, right? So, long story short, I had to take a moment. Thankfully, my mom allowed me to do that. It's been a very long moment since then, right? Because I ain't in medicine yet. But through that opportunity, I was able to go online and try to figure out, like, what does it look like to be at the intersection of medicine and potentially any other field. To be honest, I was applying to so many different roles at hospitals because even outside of my internships, I also did work during the year as well, like the school academic year. So I was a STEM educator, honey. I was a dog walker, honey. Your girl was a hustler. And also outside of that, I also worked as a medical scribe. I was also a pharmacist technician assistant for the VA hospital. So I was always in different spaces that was going to allow me to not only meet other people, but help me to sharpen skills either that I had or that would help me to discover new ones. And so, long story short, with that, yeah, I graduated, I took some time off, and I was asking God to help me figure out like what my next opportunity was. I didn't know what to do, I didn't know where to go. And at this time, I know it had been at least 8 or so months, maybe like 5 to 8 months that I had been out of school, but also out of a job, which was very unlike me. I always had a job. So, even that was teaching me how to trust the Lord to provide because even in that season, He did. Um, but yeah, I went through that and I said, Lord, I need you to show me if your word is true and if what you say that you have a plan for me and it's not, it's to prosper me and not to harm me and to give me hope in the future, and that you are the one that created me from before time in my mother's womb, you've chosen me, because I've been taking the Lord at His word. If this is really real, I need you to show me what it is. And I remember being in my prayer closet, weeping, crying, cried myself to sleep in that prayer closet. And I had a dream that night, and the dream was that I was working at Apple in the store. And I had never in a thousand years thought about working in at any technology space because again, I was so gung ho about becoming a neurosurgeon. But I was like, okay, Lord, if this is what you're showing me, because He speaks to me a lot in dreams, I'm like, okay, then what do I do? So I went online to LinkedIn. I believe He said like go online to find somebody that you're connected to. Went online to LinkedIn, found that a good friend of mine who had just graduated before me worked at Apple. And I said, can you refer me? And she said, absolutely. And even before then, because I'm skipping a piece, but after I had the dream, I started applying on my own. I wasn't getting anywhere. And that's why it's important before you make steps, even if it feels like I can do this on my own, or even if it feels like it's not a big deal, you have to ask God at every single point what to do. And as I wasn't yielding any results, I said, let me go back to the person who gave me the dream. And from there, that's when He said, go on LinkedIn and find somebody. And that's when it happened. So after 3 or 4 months of getting rejections, I applied with that referral. And the next week, I got called back. So the really amazing thing, and this is what I want to tell people, is that your journey is so divine. Every single thing you do is for a purpose. So, like I said, in undergrad, I was a STEM educator in Baltimore City schools. I worked with the United States of America, producing different kinds of curriculum and content to get children in Baltimore excited about staying in school and learning STEM, right? From understanding like different shapes, concepts, angles, understanding what light is, the Morse code, talking about music and how music has to do with math. I mean, all the things, right? So that was part of it. Then I had another opportunity, like I said, with understanding technology. Then my last opportunity was with accessible technology and working with, different kinds of folks who are vision impaired and hearing impaired. So the person calls me back, and I applied specifically for a creative role. So for those of you who may have or may know about what a creative role is in the Apple Store, it's actually for you to be almost like a champion of the culture, but also to be like an educator as well. There's different sessions that you do, get people excited about Apple products, Apple technology, and you encourage them to not only want to learn, but also to take that information and knowledge and share it out. So it was really cool, again, how it aligned. Now, naturally, for that specific role, you would have to be in the store for at least 2 years before they would even consider you. Baby, I was coming in brand new. But God is so awesome. After about three or five interviews, the fifth interview, they said, you're so special, and your energy and your personality is infectious. It would be a disservice to us if we didn't hire you for this role. So, in the first time in the history of our store, we're going to hire you to be a creative. And what we want you to work on specifically would be accessible technology education. So, when people came into the store who were vision impaired, or differently able, I should say, or differently able in their hearing or even in their motor skills, I was the person that they called to help them with our technology to ensure that they were able to, continue to live a wonderful and fruitful life with our technology. So, long story short, I was able to collaborate with different doctors from Johns Hopkins, the University of Maryland, and so on and so forth. And that's what created room for me. So, not only was I doing my job, but I was doing it excellently. A lot of people want to be promoted, but when they get to work, we feel that you don't want to be there.
Mm.
There's nothing about you that shows your bosses or your managers that you are special and that you're doing your best work. The Bible talks about how Daniel was a distinguished man in all that he did. He was excellent. And so for me, being a child of the Lord, a child of God, and also living according to the Bible, the word of God, I knew, even though at that point, maybe like around like the 1 year mark or 1 year and a half, I was like, Lord, I feel like there's more for me. However, I'm going to continue to learn. I'm going to continue to humble myself. I'm going to continue to be a good follower and a good teammate. And I'm going to show up and work according to you. Like I'm working for you, and like you're here with me. Long story short, there came an opportunity or an email. I was sitting in the back, going through my emails, getting ready to go to lunch. And there was an email that came in and said, hey, like we're looking for a data science intern. If anybody wants to intern, feel free, to reply to this thread. So I said, I'm a mathematician. I can do this in my sleep. I replied. I sent my resume. Honey, I go to Chick-fil-A, get me a spicy, meal, fries, Chick-fil-A sauce, a half and half, all the things. Come back. I have 100 people in my inbox. I'm like, what's going on? I replied to the entire thread of thousands of people. I didn't just send it to that one person. And I didn't know that, but it was God who made me reply like that. And of the people who responded, it wasn't that lady. It was my current director now who said, we have some amazing talent here at Apple. I love and see the value from your resume. I would love to connect with you if the opportunity with this individual doesn't work out. Clearly, the lady never called me back, but it was for him to contact me. So I always tell people like what God has for you. And people say that, and you might be like, yeah, it really is the truth. If you trust the Lord, you continue to obey the Lord, you continue to be excellent in your ways towards the Lord. Because even though I was interviewing for that role, my managers and my directors still had to talk to my current manager. Who is Chanel? How does she work? How does she work with people? How is her personality? How is her punctuality? Does she come to work on time? Is she there? All the things. So I say all that to say it's super important at any juncture of your journey to make sure that you are not only an executor, you are a doer, but you are doing it in excellence. So, long story short, went through those interviews by God's grace, and here I am. I've been with Apple for about 5 years now. This year was my 5th year anniversary.
Congratulations, congratulations. Something that really stood out to me as you went through that is how much of your work is impact driven.
Mm.
One, being not just a creative who's showing, people the amazing ways you can use a product, but doing it for, people who, need to be able to experience it in a different way. And then
Yes.
secondly, also even the work that you do now, at Mentor Me Collective, helping people to access those opportunities because even in your story, as you say it now, there's a lot of, first of all, you had to get the dream and then you had to go back and get the blueprint. And
Mm-hmm.
even then, like it wasn't a one-to-one step, right? You also had to
Mm-hmm.
send that, mistake email, right, to get there. So to be that person who then shows people, first of all, shares the knowledge because a lot of things you only recognize after the fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the moment, it doesn't like what you're doing in that moment, even though let's say it was God directing you to send that email, but just putting yourself out there. And like that's
Mm-hmm.
something that a lot of people don't pay attention to. If you don't show up on your director's radar, you never get that role, no matter how good you are,
That's a great point. That's an
right?
excellent point.
So that was a divine mistake, right? And it's like, how do you then author that not? And now you're authoring that knowledge and resharing it so that somebody can know, if you, try 5 times and you want to give up, maybe try 10 more times because you had to send that email to 1,000 people to get one person, the one person to say,
Mm-hmm.
this is exactly what we're looking for. But to kind of like double click on that impact piece, what inspires you to help people in that situation, in that role you were in, but also to be helping so many people now, find the career of their dreams.
Yeah. First of all, great questions. Great questions. This is what I'll say, right? During the pandemic, this is actually when I started Mentor Me Collective, formerly known as Mentor Me Chanel. I actually was in the midst of trying to find another role because I desired to live at the intersection of a more technical role. In the store, I was doing more of like a UX research role, and I wanted to convert more so towards, like I said, more technical and leverage my background with math and all that kind of stuff. And I was applying to all these roles, getting to the final stage all 2020, and didn't never get to the offer stage, right? And so at the height of the pandemic, maybe May, yeah, May, I was praying and I said, Lord, this is really hurting me. Seeing people from my community be the most laid off, the most furloughed, um, the most impacted by, again, civil unrest. And, for the students that were coming out also during the pandemic, people of color also being very impacted and not being able to find jobs. I said, Lord, what can I do? I said, because naturally I'm a firecracker. So, honey, if you light me up, I'm moving along strong. However, I said, Lord, I don't want to just go out and protest. I don't want to just go out and hold up. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, because as the Lord leads you, do your thing. But I said I want to be able to create such an impact that I'll be able to measure it over time. And I was praying, and the Lord said, I want you to serve the people. Leave the job and the next opportunity to me, but I want you to serve people and help them get into their next career. At that point, I still had a job. I was still working, in Apple retail with Apple. And the Lord was showing me, I'm still providing for you. There are people out here that don't have anything. So help them get to where they need to be. And I'm going to send you the people that I want you to help. Created a Calendly link the next day. I remember this. It was May 29th. Um, yesterday actually was our 4-year anniversary. But anyway, May 29th, 2020.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm like, how do we? Because we're doing a lot of stuff on the back end, y'all. So we coming. But yeah. So I made the post on LinkedIn. I said, hey, if anybody needs help with their resume or career direction or their LinkedIn, feel free. I'm going to, free of charge. You can book a 15 to 30-minute session with me. And we'll go over everything. And literally, I think I booked over 300 sessions over the next course of like a month or two. I mean, it went
Wow.
viral. It was crazy. So me watching popcorn and catching up on my shows on Netflix, honey, I was at that computer helping the people, serving the people. So I say all that to say a lot of my success really is from being obedient to the Lord, but also through service. I think anybody can be super successful when you look at life as a way to serve others. To your point, you were talking about how can you, show up on your manager's radar or any director's radar through service. Like what is your heart posture? And so that was what I did then. Uh, so long story short, doing that, started Meant to Be Collective. Moving forward now, 4 years later, throughout my journey of trying to find this next opportunity and role in tech, as God was leading me and guiding me, I was only familiar with medicine. I knew the medical people, I knew the lingo, I knew how they wanted you to dress and look. I knew nothing about tech. And I stumbled and honey, stumbled, crumbled, and rolled throughout trying to figure out how to speak, how to look, how to show up, how to write an email, how to get people to respond to you on LinkedIn, all things. Like, so when people say like I was ghosted, that was me. When people say I showed up to a coffee chat and the vibes wasn't there, baby, that was me. Okay. And it was from people who looked like me, who was like, girl. And you would think that people would be embracing to you. But I realized in that moment, I do not want to continue this trend of exclusivity and classism within a space where we need to create space for other people coming behind.
Mm. Please
That
say that one more time. Say that one more time.
I, I realized that I did not want to be a part of the classism, the problem that is causing people, our people, people of color, to have issues with getting into tech. Because the people that come, they forget how hard it was to get there. They get comfortable, the money is good, and then they act like they don't forgot how they got there. I told myself I don't want to do that. And with Meant to Me Collective, that's the culture that we move forward. Everyone belongs. Everyone deserves. Everyone is called according to this purpose. There is no space for me to tell you no. There is no space for me to tell you you don't look like how you're supposed to look. There's no space for me to even tell you you don't sound like how you look. If you do, I'm going to help you to get there. If you need the assistance, I'm going to connect you with somebody who can get you there. Because at the end of the day, we cannot have this large standard in terms of, hey, I don't like the way you wrote that email. I don't like the way that you presented yourself to me. I don't like the way that you shook my hand. For people of color who are just now getting to the space to understand what this even is, segregation wasn't that long ago.
Mm.
Being in corporate America as a Black person that's actually doing something like an engineer, baby, this is new. You cannot expect everyone to know how to move like how you move. So I say all that to say, I felt that God told me to be the change. And while me being the change, God also began to show me my purpose in helping to elevate the Black people. And I don't just say Black people because anybody who's first generation, anybody who's looking to change their wealth trajectory from what their family has had in the past, that's what I'm called to. That's who I'm assigned to because I believe that there is more for you. What you think is impossible is not impossible because, baby, he did it for me. And if he could do it for me, he could do it for you. What do you need to get there? We're going to build you from the ground up and have you go ahead and do great things. So I know that was a long answer. uh,
Please drop some fire emojis in the chat. Drop some fire emojis in the chat. I can't be the only one feeling this. Drop some fire emojis in the chat. You're doing so amazing, Chanel. And again, I've been inspired by your story even before, like, I got to listen. And even now, I'm just kind of like, spellbound because you touch on so many important themes, because it's almost like, with this live stream we're almost kind of like going through like the same motion, but just different perspectives. But you
Mhm.
bring so much interesting perspective, and I wanted to just touch on a few of them.
Mhm.
um One of the things that you guys have to keep in mind, regardless of your point of time in tech, is you have to give. And that story that you say is so powerful. It's an interesting thing, that say give as never lack. Even
Mm,
when you feel you have nothing, you still have a lot to give. You can give your attention, you can give your time. I say to people, for example, like, you're new to tech, so you don't even have the knowledge, but you can give your attention. You can come on this platform and show love to Chanel, right? Because that's a way you're giving back.
mm,
And I think it's a mindset and it's an attitude.
mm,
And even if you build that muscle, even on the days that you don't feel like it, like you
mm,
said about that 1.5 years in, you don't know how to not do it because that's what you've always done. And I think the other thing, which kind of like really aligns with my passion, even driving this conversation and in the work that you do, is that I say it's malpractice for people to be in our position
mhm,
and not help as many people as we can and
mhm,
not inspire the change that we want to see. Because one of the things that I realize is that if you look at the places where Black people have historically succeeded in America, all we need oftentimes is just somebody to show that this is the path. We don't take us the whole journey. Just
mm.
show the path. And once people see it and believe it, it just happens. Whether that's sports, music, entertainment, everywhere else. There's so much talent, but the challenge is the information is like the thing that gets lost in between.
I
So
was
the
gonna say
talent
that.
never connects to the opportunity. And that's why I'm so passionate and so excited about the work that you're doing. So, you tell me a little bit about the origin story.
Mhm.
Tell me to kind of like how you got to scale to working with partners like Google, being in the center of, being on the billboard and Nasdaq. Like, you've done so many amazing stuff. So tell me how all of that came about.
Yeah, man, this is so encouraging even to me because sometimes you'll have your own record of goals that you set for yourself, and if you doesn't look like if you yourself feel like you haven't reached that specific goal, you don't realize the goodness of God. So I appreciate you just reiterating that because, child, you're right. I was on Nasdaq, honey. Hello for free. Thank you, God. Um, but yeah, what has got me, man? This is what I'll say. Um, Staying true to the assignment, keeping the main thing the main thing. I knew that what got me started was prayer. What got me started was obedience. And throughout the journey, it has not been easy. I'm going to be honest. Like, there's been a lot of times where folks, you reach out to them and they don't respond, or they have a meeting with you and they say, "Hey, yeah, we'll sponsor you," and they don't sponsor you. And there's a lot of learns along across this journey. So I don't want to say and act like I just got here and just by being obedient, walking the course. There will be some turbulent times where you will question whether or not you should even continue. Um, but the Lord is so faithful, and He tells you to take heart because He's overcome the world. So I just want to encourage people to know that there's a verse in Jeremiah chapter 32, I believe, that says, "I am the Lord God. Is there anything too hard for me?" And that's something that I've been leaning into, at least this, especially for this year of 2024. Having that mindset of I can do all things because Christ is in me, because He's with me. So I'll say that. The next thing that I will say is to continue to be a learner. No matter how high you get, or with the partners that you connect with, or the favor that God gives you, there's a certain level of humility and of learning that you should always kind of walk into the room with, because you don't know everything. And people don't want to be around individuals who think they do know everything or feel like they are everything. With Jesus you are, honey, but just humble. If you humble yourself, He's the one that will exalt you. um, So that's how I live my life. And honestly, through that, through obedience, through humility, through being a learner, being a student, and being open to the opportunities and the possibilities that God has for me, believing in the God who believes in me as well, has given me the opportunity to connect with some awesome people and opportunities. Like, for instance, I had to apply to become a Google partner, grow with Google partner. If I would have sat there and be like, they ain't going to choose me, honey, baby, we wouldn't be here. But I applied and thank the Lord they accepted, right? Have partnerships with Google for nonprofits and all these different things. And so it does take it does take effort for you to put yourself out there, and to believe in yourself. And if even if you don't believe in yourself, I mean, I got enough faith to believe with you. Okay, babe, go ahead and say, Chanel believes in me, so I'm going to do it. And so that's what comes with that, right? So even down with the NASDAQ Entrepreneurship Center, shout out to that amazing team, Miss Nicola, Colin, Michelle, all the individuals. I love you all so very much. They actually gave me even more hope to continue to go, right? That's an amazing program. So if anybody's interested in that, becoming a milestone maker, I think we also have milestone circles for women owners. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to refer you on an application. But again, the Lord found that opportunity randomly through my LinkedIn. I prayed and asked God, should I apply? He told me to apply. I actually submitted the application the night of it was due. It was due at 11 o'clock at some time, honey. I submitted it at 10:15. And the Lord is faithful. He's faithful. So again, what God has for you it will be for you. But put yourself out there. Remain humble. Open to learn. Be a good follower as well. Sometimes, most times, people think that just being a leader and leading effectively means that you just are always leading. Not all the time. You have to be able to be a good follower, taking feedback. I have an incredible team as well who has helping me. Not just me, helping the mission, right? Because it's not even about me. It's about what God wants to do through Mentor Me Collective. But I have a team that's helping me to push that through, right? And it even comes from feedback that I may not even want to hear from them, but they're going to tell me and they're going to tell me the truth. And I am grateful. Like, for instance, Michael is on this call. He's our director of design and user experience. He's the one leading those forces. So God will give you community. God will give you people. He'll give you opportunities. Just walk through those doors.
You're dropping so many gems. It's like, where do we start? But another, like, I know there's a lot that you covered, and I want to almost like put you on the spot. But tell me, if you had to pick three skills that you could say this has helped me the most get to where I am today, what would those be?
Mm-hmm. This is my favorite one. Being able to embrace ambiguity and do the work autonomously. A lot of people have ideas, but they get stuck on, I'm not sure I know how to figure it out, or I don't think I have the skills to do it, or I need somebody to help me. Now, granted, yes, everybody needs help. I get that. African proverb, you want to go, by yourself, go with the people, y'all plug in the extra words. However, being able to be a self-starter is so important. My team will tell you, honey, I'm up. Thankful, the Lord gives me revelations at night, honey. So even if I try to go to sleep, I wake up and I'm like, ooh, and I'm working. I'm not waiting for somebody to do it for me. I'm just going to do it. Same thing at work. I'm going to try something. If it's not working, okay, cool. Let me talk to this person. But it's all about being a self-starter. The second one I would say is to assume positive intent. I think oftentimes it's easy for us to get offended, by maybe how somebody responds to you, or if they don't respond to you, or if they don't respond to you the way that you want them to respond. It's a whole lot of different things. Or if they're working with you in a way that you're not familiar with, or you don't prefer, assume positive intent, and through that you're able to see people as human, not as, she thinks she's gonna talk to me this way, she don't even know me. Like, maybe it is not that serious. It's not that serious. Both you and that person desires to do excellent work together. And what your vision for excellent work may be, it could be completely different for that other person. So when you assume positive intent, it gives you the ability to openly and honestly have communication. I am an over communicator. I love to over communicate because I just want to make sure we are both on the same page. And sometimes I would say, because my mind runs so quickly, just as a creative or as a founder, there may be, even you may understand, like, sometimes you just have so many different ideas and you want to do them and execute them. but sometimes slow and steady also wins the race. Okay. And then the third one I would say, so the first one was to be a self starter, the self starter with ambiguity, right? Working autonomously. The second one was to have positive intent, being able to understand the individual, forgive, humility, have great and open communication. And the third one I would have to say is, I think between being those two things, being a connector. I
Hmm.
think that one probably is the really number one reason outside of the goodness of the Lord is why I'm here, is because as I've grown and connected to so many individuals, that's actually how Mentor Me Chanel became Mentor Me Collective. It became a collective. It became a network of individuals who not only cared about me, but cared about the work that I was doing to bridge that gap. And I can honestly say that that even translates into my professional work life of connecting with people, introducing people, and so on and so forth. So those are my three.
Hmm. This is a masterclass, guys. This is a masterclass because those, especially that last one that you talk about, it's a. I feel like it's a mindset thing, and I think it goes back to that thing I said about giving. It's
Yes.
like too many times, like people are always thinking, what's in it for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do I get out of it, and so what? And it's so easy to become cynical.
Mm-hmm.
And that I really like the thread of the things that you talk about because, but what you, and oftentimes we think that we're old enough from other people, but we're really holding off and stopping ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why, like, some of the most amazing people I've met. In fact, I had a gentleman on this platform who, every single time is always like, how can I help you? What can I connect you with? And this week, he basically put me on a master class, right, for like, how to make connections, how to, get the best out of conferences. And like, he taught me so much in an hour than I could have learned myself in an entire year,
Wow.
right? And in my and you sit there and think this person is never gonna get anything back from this, but they don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to think about it this way: it's like we live in a really small world, especially in certain circles. That
Mm-hmm.
once people start to realize that this person is a giver and they're always giving to people, there's gonna be those are sometimes the things that speak for you in certain rooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that thing, and you go back and say it. If you have a nasty attitude at work and say, you know what, you don't pay me this much, you don't this and that. When that opportunity comes to move to a new role, now people get that same attitude. It's like, well, you don't pay me enough to refer you into this role, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you give, you naturally get it back, and that's why like all of the things that you say really really speak to me. But thinking back to like your own journey, right? If you had to, oh, maybe before we do that, big shout out to everyone who's dropped the fire emoji. Shout out Sydney, shout out Deolu, shout out Rashad, shout
Mm-hmm.
out Raquel. Please keep the love coming. Uh, and like, share, subscribe. You don't definitely want to keep that value to yourself. Um, but going back to what I was gonna say, like around your journey and all of the kind of like challenges, highs, lows,
Mm-hmm.
all of that you went through in your journey. If someone wanted to start out today on their own, what would be the piece of advice that you'd give in terms of how they approach building their own career in tech?
Mm. That's a really good question. So I am a holistic career coach. I'm not going to just tell you to pursue that one thing that you think you should do. I want to make sure that it really aligns with who you are and who God has created you to be, because I believe that there's longevity in that, and then through that, you'll really be able to figure out what it is or what your purpose industry is, what your purposed role is, what your purposed execution is, or whatever the case may be. So, what I like to start off first with understanding who you are. I think it's important for you to also understand who you are. 9 times out of 10, from the conversations that I have, a lot of people come say, "Hey, Shana, I want to be an engineer because my friend is doing it and she looks happy, so I want to be an engineer." Baby, she probably look happy on the weekend. Lord, thank you, Jesus. But I'm saying it's stressful, right? So you have to make sure that you were created for this. That's what I'm saying. And God said, "Hey, I want you to be an engineer." So I start off with doing personality tests. I want you to understand who you are. understand how God has created you to be. I want you to also celebrate your strengths and also the things that, maybe you're not that strong in, that you may need somebody as a compliment to help you in the workplace, right? So one test that I've been sharing out even with my team and with my mentees is called Adobe Creative Types. It's important for you to celebrate the things that you think are so normal that really make you special. And that also is a test that is super quick. You can complete it in about 5 to 7 minutes. And it goes through, like, if you're an artist, you're a dreamer, you're a maker, you're a producer, you're a visionary. And from that will inspire you and also give you insight to, again, who you are. The other test that I like to do is called the VIA character strengths. This is a free test that shows you what your what your strengths are based upon your character traits. Now, I'm a firm believer that your strengths and your values are aligned to, again, the types of careers you want to go into, right? So for folks who have more of a passion of a love of learning, creativity, so on and so forth, they may want to go into being an instructional designer that allows you to marry education, curriculum building with the love of design and creativity, right? So as you do those tests, it will show you what your top 10 are, and then also what your others are as well. And then from there, again, we're not looking at it as, oh my gosh, I'm not strong in learning. Something's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong with you. That's just not the flavor that God gave you. And that's okay, because somebody else got that flavor. There's salt, there's Lowry's, honey, there's Old Bay, there's something for everyone and for every occasion. So just making sure that you're celebrating, again, who you are, because in our culture, we're always thinking about like comparing yourself to another person in a bad way. We should not do that, because you are special in how God created you to be. And then the third one is actually the 16 personalities test. I feel like a lot of people probably have heard of that. But also in that test, it breaks down what your ideal careers are, who you are in the workplace, and also in the workplace, meaning as an IC, like an individual contributor, who you would be as a manager, and also who you would be as a teammate. And I will say at least around maybe the 8 to 9 out of 10, it's pretty spot on. And again, the things that you were just normal because that's who you are and that's what you do, you can now go ahead and lean into that and know, hey, that's what makes me special. So that's what I would say. The last thing that I would say also is for you to now leveraging those results. But once they tell you like what your target industry is, or once you start thinking about what makes you happy, what would you want to do in a perfect world if money was not an issue, right? That's where you start thinking about what you're passionate about and what your interests are. When you marry those two, it will tell you what industry you probably should be living in. When I say living in, I mean like thinking through or finding companies that are underneath that umbrella. So if you love kids and you love games and cognitive thinking, maybe going into the educational tech industry where you might want to work for Leapfrog. Or you might want to work for like all of the I don't know, Pearson or other like educational cognitive toys and car game industry. Maybe you really love automotive, like the cars, and you love technology around AI. Maybe getting into the autonomous vehicle industry. And I don't want you again thinking about, oh, it's hard to get into this industry or it will never happen. I literally have a mentee who came through our program. We started a program called the Mentor Me Collective User Design and Research Program, partnered with Microsoft Miro and the Barron Review, 2022. She was a research fellow, very passionate about dating sites and wanting for people to really find healthy connections and partners, right? And she told me, she's like, Chanel, I really want to get into this industry because we have them do different tests and different activities. And she was like, Chanel, I know you told me to write down my dream industry. I know you told me to write down my dream companies, but I don't believe it's possible. And I said, I want you to believe it's possible because it is. 2 years later, she got an offer to be a senior user researcher at Match.com because she continued
Wow.
to pursue 6 figures. She continued to pursue, she continued to believe. And also at the end of the day, she also said, Chanel, if you did not push me to not only believe, but if you did not push me to know that it's possible, I probably wouldn't be here. If you didn't push me to not settle for less, I wouldn't be here. So that's what I want to tell you all. Do not settle. It's possible.
That is so powerful. And I think that's something that a lot of people gloss over is the impact of passion. Like, as someone coming out looking in, of course, you don't have the experience. Of course, you don't have maybe even the skills yet. Of course, maybe you don't have the business context. But having that passion, because everything else I just mentioned, you can learn it. You
Mm-hmm.
can never learn passion.
Mm-mm.
And especially when you have that much clarity going on, it almost becomes, clearer once you've now done it. And that's
Mm.
why you should never discount yourself. You have to always believe, because
Always.
I think my approach has always been like, only one person has to make the mistake of saying yes.
Divine. Yes.
So
Yes.
it's like I'm just knocking on all the doors, and somebody's gonna mistakenly.
Yes. Can I just say something real quick? I know that we're gonna get to Q&A. I love that you just mentioned that, right? Knocking on all the doors. So there's a Bible story that talks about how there was this woman in the town that all like was so aggressive and so tenacious with getting an answer from King Solomon that he just ended up ruling in her favor. So sometimes you got to be aggressive with what you want. The violent take it by force. You cannot sit up there and be passive about your life. You cannot be passive about your life. So, even though I'm saying, yeah, do this, it's coming from, again, these seeds that I have planted in my heart, the word of God that allows me to act it out. It becomes live in me. So, like I said, you cannot let your life become passive. Don't sit up there and just let things just float on by. You have to take charge of your life, take charge of your destiny, like I said, committed unto the Lord, and He will establish the works of your hands and also the purpose and the pursuit of your life.
Something happened to me, and okay, so we're gonna start taking questions. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. Oh, I agree. I agree. This woman is simply amazing. I agree. I think we all agree.
Hi, Maria. He's also on my
Thanks for
team.
that,
He's
Maria.
our
That's
art
that's
director.
awesome.
Yes.
Um, one thing that I almost saw as a rule of thumb is like how bad you have to want it. And you know, there was a time that I was completely slammed. I was interviewing that period. I was helping a few people out. And I
Mhm.
think about, five people reached out to me saying, oh, can you, talk, I need to talk to you about this. I need you to review this with me. I need to do this and do that. And I just told all five of them, I'm like, hey, can we pick this up like in 2 weeks? Only one of them reached back out to me.
Wow.
And that's so painful sometimes, because it's like, if I'd actually had more bandwidth in that week and taking that call, it would have cost me everything, right, in terms of time and moving around my schedule, but it meant nothing to you, right? And
Mm.
ultimately, like, people underestimate how being just tenacious in
Mhm.
what you want, and like just wanting it so bad that I'll give an example. So when I led that program, oftentimes,
Mm.
when I led the software development training program, majority of people who came didn't even come because they saw ads and things like that.
Wow.
Some people came because they had a child in a school, but they'd been talking about getting into tech, and the teacher saw it and told them to come to the program.
Wow.
Some people saw it because they're part of a sorority and they've been talking about switching careers, and somebody told them. So they got the opportunity of a lifetime to go to a program that would typically cost, let's say, $13,000 for
Wow.
free. Why? Because they'd been eager in sharing their passion with other people, even when they didn't have the resource, that when the opportunity showed up, someone remembered them and said, I know this is going to be useful to them, and then connected them to that opportunity.
Wow.
So it's like, never, like, don't, even when you feel like you sound like a broken record, break some more records, right? And put your story out there. um, this is the time for Q&A. I think we already got one question, but if you got more questions, um, please leave them in the chat. Hey, Dominique says, that's my sis right there. I'm proud. Yes, I think we're
Hey,
all proud.
Dom. That's our oh, hey, Dom.
So our first question is from John, and he says, what's it like working in a corporate setting like Apple?
Yeah. It's the best job and best company I could ever work for. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know people be, they say it, but they don't really, they don't really mean it. I really mean it. This is the first place and space where I feel like I was able to be my full self. From wearing different kinds of colors, being able to, like, again, come to the office. Maybe if you want to wear your jeans, you want to wear your, I don't know, your, what they call them, the stretch pants. I forget, sneakers, all the sandals. I mean, you name it. And then also on top of that, the people that you work for, or work with, I should say, are amazingly brilliant. I've been blessed to have an incredible manager who is a godsend. And like I said, even with my skip, like they see things in me that I don't even see in myself. I was talking to a coworker today about this, but for me, it's easy for me to kind of get on these stages and talk, and maybe even talk at, like, conferences like the Society of Women Engineers and Black is Tech and all that kind of stuff. But what I've been struggling with is just like really seeing my worth and my value on my team, because people are so brilliant. And I'm gonna be honest. And so sometimes, most times, I feel like I shouldn't say anything in meetings, or like I need to listen. Even y'all, okay, I'm a whole engineer at a whole Apple, still having issues with kind of or concerns, I should say, with second guessing myself. But in this season, God is helping me to be more confident, and by doing that, He's connected me with, again, allowing me to have really great conversations with my colleagues that also inspire me, and also make me feel encouraged as well. So I'll say the people that you work with is absolutely incredible. The management is awesome. Obviously, the things that you learn, that I mean, people take years to learn. You learn instantly because of the amazing industry folks that you work with is awesome. So, yeah, I know I keep saying awesome, but I mean, baby, it is awesome, and I am blessed and not stressed. Yes.
That's a really, really great one. And I can echo that sentiment as someone who's also had a short stint at Apple. Diolu has a question, and it's a really, heartfelt one. He says he's been job hunting and it's been really exhausting for him lately. Do you have any tips or strategies to help make the process less draining?
Okay.
He's trying to stay optimistic, but it feels like he's hitting rock bottom.
I understand. I also was there. So I just want to say I totally understand, and I hear you and I see you. So a couple of things could be an issue, right? I'm going to talk practical, and then we'll get spiritual and physical. So practical. Your resume is your golden ticket. So if you've been applying and you have not been hearing, that means that your resume is just not optimized. Even if you think it is not. A lot of times folks use different kinds of, it can be the way that you're submitting it, like as a doc instead of a PDF. It can be the way that you're structuring it, maybe putting, some things towards the top when they should be at the bottom. It could be the amount of bullet points that you're putting underneath your experience sections, for your job, the job breakdown section, that may not be enough. Or it could be the structure of your bullet point, which I 9 times out of 10 think that is. So a lot of times people put on their resume generic tasks that you've done in that role. That is not the resume that's going to get you in the tech. We want to know that you are results driven, that you create impact, and also that you have accomplishments in that role. Because at the end of the day, we're looking for people who are subject matter experts or on their way to becoming that. So I like to share this with folks. When you're creating your bullet points, you need to have it in the XYZ method. I did X because of Y in order to produce Z result. It can be a percentage or any kind of numeric metric, or even a worded value. Like when I did X because of Y, I was able to increase X and X. When I did X because of Y, I was able to decrease, and blah blah blah. Very very important. Also, action words are very important. So when you start your bullet points, you should be starting it with a dynamic action verb. Executed, spearheaded, anything that is leadership, through and through. Honey, partnered, collaborated, initiated, boo boo. Do not sit up there and say, I did. Don't actually say that, right? You really want to say executed 20 automated scripts that produced a reduction of over I don't know, of systems overheating by 25%. That's fire. Okay, so that's how I would tell you to structure your bullet points. In terms of staying optimistic, I think it's important for you to understand your why. And again, it comes down to you not comparing your journey with someone else's. So really important for you to understand, hey, first of all, is this really what you're supposed to be doing? Because sometimes you're putting a whole lot of energy and effort into something you're trying to do because you're afraid of doing the one thing that you really are called to do. The second thing, like I said, may come from comparison, something that the Lord has delivered me from, and I pray He do that to you too. Because, honey, like Coach Prime says, you got to be in your own lane. Okay, there's too many fruit trees for you to think that there's only one tree that you can pick fruit from, right? So just know that God has a tree for you that is full of fruits. Honey, if you like plums, it's got plums on it, peaches, honey, cherries, blueberries, whatever floats your boat. So it's just important for you to be aligned and to know that.
That's really powerful, and I couldn't have said it any better. I think maybe I don't know if it's something that you or your team can help with, but would you be willing to help with their resume if they would
Oh
like to
yeah, so
share?
that's a great question. So yes, what's coming up if you're based in New York? Well, so exclusive plug. We'll be having some in-person sessions to help people with getting themselves together, resumes, LinkedIn's, all that kind of stuff, mock interviewing, all of that is going to be happening in person soon. So anyway, because that's probably later on in the year, please reach out to me. I will send you a recording that will soon be on our new website for these different career coaching tips that I'm talking about. And it will come with templates as well. So I'm happy to provide you with a free template that I've created that has gotten my what 400 to 500 mentees jobs, all that kind of stuff. So just reach out to me on LinkedIn and put in the note that you found me here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm really happy that we could set that up.
Mhm.
So second question is from Sydney.
Mhm.
Um, do you have any tips for working at a non-diverse company? Maybe being the only black person or woman in the room, it can be lonely and isolating.
Mhm. Okay, I see you and I hear you and I can understand the plight. This is what I'm challenging us as people of color to do. I don't want you to look at that as a miss, like as a demerit, basically. I want it's not a missed opportunity. It's actually a wonderful opportunity for you not only to be the best version of you, but so let me take 3 steps back because I don't want you to think I'm glossing over what you're saying, right? So previously, I also felt the same way. So currently on my team, I'm the only woman of color in general, black and brown, right? Representation. At first, I was like, "Where's other people? I want to be here alone. Y'all don't understand the black culture." Doing all the extra shenanigans. Okay, I had to come to a place of understanding that God has me there for a reason. Maybe the people that I'm over here trying to advocate to come onto my team would probably not be the best choice. You have to think about these things. Like maybe sometimes it's a whole lot of things. We'll probably talk more on one-on-one, but I want you to know what I want you to know is it's an opportunity for you to take time to understand other cultures, but also take time to educate other people on on your culture. I will say that maybe not everybody is open to that, and that's okay. But that comes with having a softer heart. Everything is not black versus white. And again, God had to deliver me from that. I'm talking from very recent experiences. At the end of the day, you never know where your blessing is coming from. And in your mind, you may be limiting yourself from someone who could potentially be a really great mentor, sponsor, or advocate. And you're thinking because they don't look like you, that blessings cannot come and flow. But that's not the case. So anyway, we'll talk more. Ping me on LinkedIn and we can get a little bit more in the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I love that. I've actually, so I've thought about it a little differently, which is
Mhm.
kind of like, I think you're already doing amazing in that space. Is that if we don't get more people in basically at the basement, then we're not going to see more people at the top, right? So,
Mhm.
so you're already doing that. But you bring another very interesting perspective is that even when you find yourself in that position, don't always look at it as a challenge. Also see the opportunity in that
Mhm.
and embrace it because ultimately, you don't even want it to be something that and I like what you always say about that positivity. I think you've basically laid it out because if you approach even a negative situation with a positive mindset, only good things can come out of it. I
Yeah,
love
and I
that.
will say too, maybe you're the example at like you can be the example to show people around you why we do need more people of color here. And because they had a great experience with you, it will cause them to lower their defense systems to allow people in. And I will say this too. I'm a huge advocate for Black people in tech. Okay, you can look at my LinkedIn. You can look at Mentor Me Collective's LinkedIn. Baby, we Black. Okay, and we are Black and proud. I'm just saying I don't want us as a people to limit our mindset of growth at a company that could be a blessing to you because you don't see nobody that looks like you there.
Mm.
That's what I'm saying. So anyway,
Oh,
like I said, we'll
absolutely.
talk more about that.
Yeah. So Lucas is asking, is there too many differences between working at companies like Apple versus small startup, but meaningful as well? Which are they, and do we need to change our mindset?
That's a good question, Lucas. Also, on my team is our newest business analyst, so love that. Yeah, this is a good question. So, it really depends on where you are in your life, right? I advocate for individuals to start or to work in larger companies that is going to give you your pension, your 401k, stock options, and all this other stuff because it's helping you to build wealth. If you're in a space where you've already built a certain level of wealth, you have investments, your portfolio is diverse, you're just looking, to get the vibes and to help things like or people start up, then the startup companies may be best. But I feel like a lot of people apply to startups because they have a fear that they won't be accepted or good enough for larger companies. And that is totally a disservice to you. So, depending on where you are in your financial journey and your security, I would recommend one or the other, depending.
Hmm. Great.
Mhm.
So, Rukawa has a question. How do I encourage a friend to continue the journey of learning a skill in tech they want to learn, but are getting frustrated because of how difficult the skills can be when learning them?
hmm That's why we're so like Mentoring Collective. Our mission is to empower learners, right? To get the confidence that they need, the knowledge that they need, and the skills that they need to pursue their passions. Education is a huge, huge part of you being able to be successful in tech. I will say this: if someone, and I don't mean this, I'm being very honest. If someone is getting discouraged about their learning in tech, it could be one of two things. One, they're pushing themselves to learn something that they're not supposed to be learning. It goes back to what you're passionate about, not about what you think will be best for you. So, if, for instance, like I said, I have mentees that say, "Hey, should I want to be an engineer?" Why? Because my friend is doing it, and I love her office, and every time I go, we get to eat jerk chicken, and it's great. Love that. I love that. But that's not a good why. And if you're learning and pushing yourself to become an engineer and it's not something that God has created you to be, it's going to be hard and it's going to be discouraging and you're going to be miserable. So that's one. The second thing is maybe the learning tool that you're using is not conducive for your learning style. So very important to make sure that that aligns. There are apps, like for instance, I'm going to speak from a software engineering perspective. There are apps to learn how to code. Um, y'all ping me because now I can't think of them, which is a shame. Code Academy is one, but there's like two others as well that are really great so that you can be learning on the go. Also, Grow with Google, amazing. If you're looking to become like a backend engineer or just become proficient in Python and learn automation, that's the course that got me to pass my interviews at Apple. Shameless plug. And I'm trying to think of other perspectives. Sometimes it depends on like what is conducive for you, but I'll say that.
Great, great. I'm not sure that we have any more questions left, so it's just a bunch of thank yous. Again, please drop love emojis, heart emojis, fire emojis. I know like everybody's gotten so much value from this. Oh wow, see that? That's amazing. And she's giving all the love back too.
Mhm.
Want to say huge thank you. Oh, I think we got one final
Okay, that's
one.
fine. I got time.
that was sneaking in.
Okay.
If we got more, drop them. We got time. So, hi
Mhm.
Chanel. Looking back at your career, what's one piece of advice you wish you'd received earlier in your journey?
Ooh, good question. Um, Honestly, that every step and every stage is going to require you to learn and adapt. Learn, adapt, and adjust. Sometimes, not sometimes, most times, it's hard for people to change because they're used to things being a certain way. But in technology, things change all the time. your assignment may change from one project to the next. So it's super important for you to be adaptable. And I had to learn that along the way with me in this role, having to learn multiple languages, SQL, Swift, Objective C, blah, 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 like model view controller, like, app development, data management, all the things. And I'm like, my God, so you want me to learn this now? You don't got 2 months, but you got 2 weeks. So it's important to embrace the learning culture, and you'll be fine.
That's such a powerful one. In fact, I made a tweet that went viral yesterday that was saying, of course, I know it was a little bit controversial. It's that
Mm,
90% of what you need to be successful in most tech roles, you actually learn it on the job.
yes.
So a lot of times, I think the biggest thing is actually proving that you're a learner more than anything else, and that you're not stuck up in your ways. Because, of course, you have to go with the core skills, but a lot of like the tools, platforms, ways of working, like
Mm.
even like companies, I would like to I call it joking like indoctrination camps, right?
I'm cracking up.
Where they basically teach you how they want you to work, and
Mhm.
that's why you hear things around like cultural fit. Because imagine how challenging it would be if everybody thought in A and somebody else thought in Z, right? It'll be so challenging. And that's why, like, you join a new team, you're gonna hear a lot of like, oh, the PCS and the ADZ, and it's like your
Mhm.
head is swirling. Like, what are they talking about?
Yes,
So it's always so important to be able to be someone who's constantly learning and just have that mindset, because it's just gonna be you'll have to learn anyway. So you can either make it easy or just make it hard, and it's always better to make it easy.
I absolutely agree. 1,000%.
So, do you have any final words thought to share with the audience? And if you want to plug any more um, exclusives, this will be the
I think I
time.
was saying too much. Michael probably gonna be like, "Girl." Michael's our design director, but yes, I just want to say, first of all, super excited to be here. It is an honor and a privilege and a blessing. I'm having so much fun with you all. I just want to say, like, again, if there's one thing that I want you to leave here with, if you didn't hear anything else, is that all things are possible. I do not want you all to walk away from this conversation thinking that you cannot do the things that you desire to do, because you can. It's all about aligning to your passions and your interests, what God has created you to be passionate about, burn for. That's a gift. And that itself will guide you along your journey of purpose and destiny, fulfilling destiny. Yeah, obviously you can follow us on Mentor Me Collective on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all the platforms. I think we're on there. We're up and running, so we're getting our social medias together. But definitely on LinkedIn. And if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me as Chanel Power on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn.com/n/power, the letter C, and then the number one is where you can connect with me, and I'll be excited to connect with you all as well.
Well, thank you so much, Chanel. This has been absolutely amazing. And thanks everyone for coming on. Thanks for showing love in the chat. Thanks for all the questions. I'm sure like it's gonna be useful even for the people who watch the replays later. And thanks, Chanel, for showing so much love, both figuratively and like physically. That's amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. That's the show tonight. We got another one. It's a double header week. We got another live stream tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. Um, See you